Hello, I'm Stephen Collins. You know, every small town has legends. Those stories are shared over the dinner table, at Friday night football games, shared with friends and family. And this is Hollow in the Hill, where we believe that those stories truly matter. And we're going to visit people, places, and things to bring those stories to you.
Every small town has places that become part of its story, not just for the food, but for the memories made around it. Today, we're stepping inside one of those places, Melton's Deli. For over 26 years, Melton's Deli has been serving up more than just sandwiches. It's been serving up tradition, a place where the faces may change, but the feeling has always stayed the same. The story of Melton's Deli isn't just about a restaurant, it's about a family. Ronnie and Jenna Melton didn't just build a business, they built a gathering place. For 26 years, through hard work, heart, and a whole lot of ham and cheese, they've turned a small deli into something bigger, a part of people's lives. This is their story.
Hi, I'm Stephen Collins, and we're back with Hollow in the Hill, Kentucky Stories. Today we are here at Melton's Deli. It's award winning. They've won awards here in Danville for several years. They're all over the walls. It's a great place, a great atmosphere. And I'm going to start and introduce Ronnie and Gina. These are our owners and operators here at the deli. And just let them share with us what brought you guys to Danville and the start of Melton's.
Well, we in 1974 we graduated from high school, and Jenna's dad was a pastor with the Southern Baptist Convention, and he switched churches and got a church in Junction City, Kentucky, just out of Danville. And that was what brought us to this area. She followed her family up here, and I followed her. So, and we decided to get married at a young age. We got married that August in 1974, and started our working careers. I worked with AT&T, and she worked at Whirlpool. And had, for young people, we had good jobs at that time. And I had always wanted to be a business owner and start our own business. We didn't have any experience. We didn't go to college. We just had faith that we could do it.
Didn't know any better, did
We
you?
didn't know any better. Exactly. And I would suggest that anybody that has that idea, go ahead and give it a try, because you never know.
That's fact.
And if you don't do it, you're going to maybe regret that you didn't give it a try. But we started, I left AT&T and was looking for something to do, and just kind of, I was even thought about going back to college and seeing what we could do that way and that kind of thing. And then I thought, well, I always liked the flower shop. I had worked at a flower shop out of high school for a little while and enjoyed it. And my father had a really good friend that he coon hunted with, actually, and he was a florist, a designer. And they talked a lot about it and everything. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting, something you could make money off of and that kind of thing. And so these people were a little older and they were looking to get out of the business. And I got in that way, and they helped me for a year or so and gave me a lot of experience. And then we ended up buying the business, and we bought the property and stayed there for 17 years. And just enjoyed Danville and got associated with Center College and the hospital here and those kind of things. And those people took us in and did business with us. And so we were successful. And as the years went on, we decided that we wanted to try something else. So we started looking for something else. And we had a couple of girls that worked for us, and they bought our flower shop from us. And they gave us an opportunity to look in other directions. And so it took about a year, and then this came available, this location, and we were kind of thinking about it in the food business, the food industry. And my friend in Frazzell, Kentucky had started a deli, and we thought that might be something that we could do on an individual basis with not too much experience and that kind of thing. We already had business experience, but the food was a little bit different. But we bought the building and remodeled and started it up. We actually started it as a convenience store. The one across the street was shut down at the time, we thought something on this end of town might be good and give people what they might need. And so, but we started the deli also. We had a counter and sold sandwiches, and it was obvious after the first day that that was going to be the draw.
Sometimes our intention, we don't know where they're going to lead us to, but, just having that faith and just that persistence, a lot of times will pay off and put us on the path that we're supposed to be on. What year was it that you sold the flower shop?
We sold the flower shop in 1998.
In 98. And then what year did you open the deli then? In 2000?
99.
In 99. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was about a year later. And we started it up. And like I said, once the lunch counter, the sandwich part of it became bigger and more well received, we started closing out the convenience store part of it, got rid of the gas tanks and that kind of thing, and just went with the sandwiches and the deli foods. And it just took off. People, that's what they wanted.
Right.
And we tried to offer something that wasn't here at the time in the area, that just a turkey sandwich,
Right.
Or a ham sandwich instead of a burger.
Right.
Or something like that, a hot grill. And it was a lot less trouble. We didn't have to put in the big vents and things like that. We didn't have a big grill and the grease, the smell, and those kind of things, We just wanted to make it a little bit cleaner, smaller operation, but something that we could do kind of on our own, And it's grown, of course. But and then over the years, it's just grown, and we just hung with it, stayed with it, and it's been very successful for us.
Gina, tell us a little bit about your background and where you're from. And Gina, you had mentioned that, Ronnie had mentioned that you guys had met in high school. So kind of fill in a few of those blanks and bring us up to date from that time period until now.
Well, he covered everything pretty good.
Okay.
Other than a wonderful wife back then.
Yeah, he did neglect to mention that.
He did neglect that. Gosh, I don't even know where to start. It's been a great journey, I know that. We've been very fortunate to be able to follow some dreams that we had. Ron was talking about the flower shop, how that works for us. He actually worked there for 3 years with a lady that worked there with another flower shop when we bought it. And Joyce still works with us today here at the deli. So we feel like, she's safe.
Oh, absolutely.
But after 3 years, I left my job at World Food Corporation to join them in business because we wanted to work together. Where most couples don't, we've always had good success. I mean, we've had our ups and downs, so we're all trying to negotiate whose responsibility is what and those sort of things. But it generally falls into place. And that job was a wonderful opportunity. That business was great because it was an emotional business. We got to know our customers and celebrate with them. There was a new baby in the family. We got to help support them when there was sickness and illness. We had to send flowers to the hospital. We had with Eureka, and they lost a lot. And it was very emotional. It was very exciting at times. But after 17 years, there was a certain amount of burnout that came. Through those years, we had done a lot of events. We were really into events, and we watched caterers, restaurants. And we were always so impressed with it, and we thought, oh my gosh, I could never do that. That's just too serious, That they're feeding people, and they could, they're very responsible for people's health.
Right.
And we just never thought we would ever get into something like that. Then, like Ronnie was alluding to, we got into the deli business, and we realized that we had been dealing with perishables refrigeration for 17 years.
You got it, buddy.
So,
Yeah.
we kind of started, taking a deep breath, thinking, we could do this. And we also, at the flower shop, it's many years ago before we would use credit cards, so we had to bill everyone individually. And that's very difficult to keep your head above water sometimes because we've been through a lot of years of, struggles. But we decided if we're going to another kind of business, we were going to do something that if we couldn't sell it, we could eat it. because there were times in the flower shop that we weren't sure what we were going to eat.
Right.
And you couldn't eat on set after Christmas or before Christmas.
Right.
You know. So anyway, that's how we ended up here. We did want to keep it real simple. Ronnie just made it complicated sometimes because I always am like, well, let's add soup. Well, let's add more desserts. And let's try this or try that. And he's like, you gotta keep this streamlined and simple. And of course, as a woman and I love to cook, I'm always wondering. Figure out something new. Yes, something a little bit different. I get, excited by new ideas. With food, especially.
For sure.
But I was very fortunate to be involved with a good, solid family with a mother and father that loved each other. And even though we did move quite a bit as a young person because of my father's ministry, I always knew wherever we unpacked that suitcase that night, that was home. And if Mom and Dad was there, we'd go home. And everything's good. So I have kind of an adventurous spirit. And I think that's been a help to Ron as far as being behind him when he did run.
Right.
She's an idea person. She comes up with ideas that I don't consider. She comes up with great ideas. So she comes up with a lot of ideas.
I'm full of
we go through them and we talk about them. And some of them we start using.
He's very good to me. He listens. He listens and plays along, and then we pick good ones.
But I want to say something. You hear a term a lot, and especially around Hollywood, as far as power couples. Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt and this and that. But what you said that resonated with me a while ago is, you talked about how some couples, they don't want to work together. But you guys were kind of the exception to the rule that you wanted to. And to me, that is the complete definition of a power couple. As a couple that can stand behind each other and working together, as everyone knows, has ever done it, especially with family and friends. Sometimes you get frustrated. Sometimes you get a little bit tense and things like that. But at the end of the day, you both have the same common goals, the same common drive, the same things backing you. And to be able to pull those, so many times couples feel like it's me against him or me against her, And really, in my mind, it should be us against the world because that's the way it should be, And when you find someone that you're able to, like you guys did at a young age, and spend all this time and all these adventures and stuff like that, it's one of the reasons why I love our show so much is to be able to share that type of stories and stuff to hand those on to generations later on, because. Yeah, I have a grandson and another one on the way, and I have 3 daughters. First, you guys have children of your own and things, and so I always try to look at that next generation because I'm thinking of the stories that my grandfather told me, or that I've heard from my great uncle about my grandfather or my grandmother, and things, and so that I think it's tremendous that you guys have been able to do that and work together. And you mentioned that your father was a minister. And so I would have to say without a doubt that played a lot in the fact of you guys being able to stay together as long as you have, and that faith and beliefs that you guys have in marriage and the sanctity of marriage and being each other's partners and things like that too. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to insert that. Well, thank you.
That's another lesson that we've had is having our family work with us. And we can walk out here at any minute and we know that everything's going to be fine.
Yes.
Everybody's going to take care of us. It's when my father got sick. We hadn't owned this place very long. And we only had a couple of people that were somewhat trained. But the day my father passed, friends that we've known for years, they all just piled in here.
Oh, I'm sure.
They'd never run a cash register before. They didn't know what to do, but they knew that we needed it. And they kept our business going at that time because it was the early days that we needed it, So those kind of family friends are just so valuable. But I don't know, there's just a comfort that knowing that no matter what happens here, and I can make a real bonehead move and make big mistakes, the mother will tell me, "You did the best you could," or Jeff will be like, "Let me take care of this, and you come take it for it."
Right.
Ronnie's the same way. We have each other's backs, and that's just
good.
another one.
That is great. So, tell me a little bit about yourself, your history.
Another point on Dad being a minister, especially in the early days of Baptist Church, he didn't make a lot of money.
No, they didn't make a lot of money.
And one of the things we learned early, they provide a shelter, they provide food. If you want anything else, you had to work for it.
Right.
I mean, and I started working my first public job at 13. Paid my first Social Security at 14. And for 50 straight years. So we all had to work.
Well, that's child abuse now.
Well, yeah, we probably do. But we like to have little extra stuff,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And so we did that, and that was when you turned 18, you got a job or you got out.
I wanted to run you off.
No, but you know, you had to be on, so help support yourself. So we did that, and we started working. And as I was talking earlier, Mom and Dad moved on, and you went to work. You did that, and it was a good learning experience. I did 23 years in business and banking before I started my career in education. And then I did 27 years in that. So we moved and worked all over, but working, and sometimes it's more than one job at a time.
Oh, for sure.
Because that was my job about the family.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's what you did. But when it came to why I'm in Danville, it wasn't a good situation. I had a sick wife, and I needed to retire and take care of her, and I needed help. And what I didn't realize, my wife's family was all gone. She had no help. All I had was my family. But what I didn't know at the time is the connections they had were so immense. I had family I didn't know I had.
Absolutely.
They weren't necessarily biologically kin, but the connections that this community had with my family made a community family that was so vast. When I needed something, they came to me. When my wife needed care in a nursing facility, I had help, and people contacted me that I didn't really know. And so it's a family, not biologically necessarily, but it's a community family. And that was very comforting. Very comforting.
And that Jen mentioned a minute ago too, when y'all's father passed and the community coming to help and things like that. I worked on the road for a number of years in a number of different states. And every time I'd come home and I'd see that blue sign that says, "Welcome to Kentucky."
Yeah.
And even now, I still smile because, to me, I made a comment to a guy I was working with, and I said, "I can't wait to get back home to Kentucky and let those hills hug me again." Mm-hmm. Because that's what it feels like in our state, that even though, as you even mentioned, Tim, you had family that you were unaware of that were willing to help and to be there and things. And I think that's the case with a lot of us. We feel like we're going through the world sometimes, and then we get wrapped up in our own little deal, and it's just us and things. But we don't realize the impact and the scope that we have with other people, and that energy and love that we put out to those folks, is reciprocated so many times back to us in ways that we're not even aware of or expected in your case, and things. So, but go ahead. I just wanted to interject.
And coming along with the family, I meet people, they think they know me. I don't have a clue. But they know these people. They probably heard stories, some of them true, some of them probably not true, but, that's okay. They tend to know me, and it is really a great community.
Now, you admit you were an educator.
I worked as a district administrator for many years and a teacher. I taught math. And, I went from changing the world one student at a time to changing the world one sandwich at a time. So, it's a lot different, but it's all working with people.
It is.
And yes, I work mainly with middle school kids, which is a unique situation. I worked out of in Pulaski County, both with the Pulaski County System and Somerset.
Okay.
Great jobs. I enjoyed it. And it would probably still be working if I could be, in the school system.
Okay.
But but I'm 72, still working. If that says why, well, that's what you do, didn't you? I mean, people, you work till you die.
That's pretty much, it's my uncle, and they always told him before he passed. I said, well, you have to clock out 30 minutes for the funeral, And so he just worked all the time. And it's one of the things that I really admired about him. And, my mom always told me coming up, she said, Stephen, there's not a lot that good hard work won't fix, And I look back on my life and times where things have been stressful or things were just not where they needed to be and things. And but I'd go to work and work long hours and just stay focused on the job at hand. And, not that you're trying to kill the pain or anything like that, but you have to get your mind to a point to where you can think on it in a way to where you're not so emotionally involved that your mind's going to different areas and things. So,
But working for family, I also have the freedom to go and do what I need to do.
Right.
And I do travel.
So
I do travel. So
she's not too hard on you if you need a Thursday off.
I don't think so.
she knows I'll walk anytime I need to. No, it's been interesting and fun to meet a lot of characters up here, and she knows them all. I'm still learning some of them, but it's fun. It's fun here.
That's one thing about Danville in particular. It does have its own just kind of air about it, that just draws people to this little area, and of course it's where Kentucky started. Brenda and I were just at Constitution Square a while ago, and I said, none of this would have been possible had it not been for these buildings here.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the whole shooting match started. So
interesting fact, and maybe just us, but our family came into Lincoln County here in 1780s.
Well,
Didn't know that till I actually moved to this area.
Right.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So to be able to trace that back that far, that's great.
One of the things I think Danville may get misunderstood. Some people may misunderstand the social climate of Danville. We're very protective of what we have.
Mm-hmm.
We may not move as fast as some bigger cities, communities, but we've got such a special thing here. And something was created here so long ago that we want to protect it.
Mm.
Ron and I really, we love history and we love our Ephraim McDowell house. The story of Ephraim McDowell is a story that I think should have movies and plays and
Very
TV series and
yes.
dramas about it.
Yes.
I mean, he was Daniel Boone with the scalpel
Yes.
that would rob a grave to learn how to heal people.
Mm.
So, I mean, to me, that's fascinating. We love that part of our community. Like you were saying, if it wasn't for those people, and to get up and not be grateful for every value that you get is an insult to every ancestor we got.
It is, really.
We think we've had it rough. Nothing compared to what our forefathers and our ancestors said.
Well, you're making sandwiches and not skinning squirrels
That's
for
exactly
lunch,
right.
and so
That's right.
and that just it's come a long way.
Absolutely. And it's just getting better and better.
It is, and I go ahead.
Jonathan, one of the things that I have found interesting and it encouraged me is working with our deaf population here in Danville, how much they enjoy teaching us and helping us understand them, and it's fun. I mean, they enjoy. Now we get tickled with each other because we make mistakes, but they are so encouraging and try to help us.
You know, and that's something about Danville too. It's one of the few locations to have a facility like that geared strictly for the deaf community. You know, and I went to church when I was younger with a gentleman that was deaf, so I learned sign language to be able to communicate with him. And you're talking about getting tickled with each other. You know, he and I would. We would laugh at each other all the time, you know, just things that he was trying to tell me that I was misinterpreting, and then I would say something completely different, and he's laughing, and I have no idea why, you know.
Well, I thought for probably 200 years that this, that I would ask them if they wanted lettuce, and I was actually calling them a loose. Because lettuce is, a head of lettuce. You put your head right here. And they would look at me right, and then they would understand, and then finally, I figured it out. But talking about KSD, Mother could probably tell the story better about our ancestor that has been involved in KSD. Another connection we had to this community.
Let's hear that story.
Well, my mother's sister, was Mary Ona Evans. And she was here in about 18 something until 1904. She graduated from there, and she loved it so well. She stayed 2 more years to help as a teacher's aide. She was not a teacher by no means, but back then they used everybody they could, and so she stayed. And only when she would come home, she would stay 2 weeks, maybe over Christmas or something. She wanted to be back up here because no one could talk to her at home but my grandmother. She learned the old-fashioned sign language, each letter, and she'd have to wait for her to spell it out. And she didn't like that. She wanted to be where she had friends. She wanted to come back up here because she became ill and was not able to come back. And she wanted to get married, and she had this lovely man that she fell in love with here, and he was deaf. And my grandfather, being such an old gentleman, he was old at that time even, because he was 55 when my mother was small. So, and actually, he wasn't young. And back in those days, he didn't think two deaf people should get married at all. No. And so she deteriorated from that emotionally and mentally. And it broke her.
Yes.
So she's never the same. But she loved it up here. She wanted to come back, always wanted to come back here. And so she got to come back a few times to it. But back then you traveled by train and there was no money for that, So she did not need to come back, especially after my grandfather found out that she wanted to get married. He did not.
So maybe you're the youngest here, and we won't disclose yet. We don't need to know that. But you work for your children here and your son-in-law. Tell us what that's like on a daily basis.
It's wonderful being with my children. You have to understand, we never had a home as a home. It was always a parsonage or the church, the church home. But now we all have homes here, and this is home for us. And the first time in our life. Now, my husband and I had a home in Henderson, but even after we retired, we stayed there for some time. But it's been great working here, and it's been so much fun. But I remember in thinking about the things that we did when we first opened, they went to Cincinnati or somewhere for a training on Delis. And my husband and myself and Shana, a granddaughter, she was here. We were so excited and we worked so hard. We were just the three of us. We made $350. It was awesome. It was awesome. And we called them and said, "You made $350 today." And when we got home, my husband said, "That wasn't that exciting. That won't even pay a lot." I know, but it was exciting. Yes. But the fact that that's the first time we made that much. Yeah. First day, we only been open maybe a couple months. Right? Yeah. And we made $350. Great good. But then we laugh about that today and think, but we would think about the memories. I love memories with these kids. And of course, you've already found out Jeff is the comedian in the family. He got that from me. But actually, one of the things that I remember was that, and then another thing we did the vice presidential debates twice here. We took the food, and that was so awesome because we met so many people, and then we had all this security and everything that you had to be really be careful. But the whole family, our whole family came.
Yes.
Even the ones from Florida, I have 2 daughters in Florida, came to help because they could all be cleared, we knew, for security.
Right.
And it was so much fun because when we
Not many outlaws in that.
no outlaws.
No outlaws.
Really good feeling.
Yeah, no fellas, no. And so we knew that we had that covered, and so they came. But it's been great, and the people are great. Now, I don't know if you know, but just in January this year, the Boyle County Neighborhood Magazine, they did an article on me for this, at the Deli, and it was such a blessing, and it was such a good article that they prepared and did. It was just great, and they asked me then. I think they did it because I was old, but I don't mind telling my age. I'm 93. I'll be 94 in November, and I'm just thankful I can still come every day, and I don't really call it work, and I think it's fun. I sit there and greet everybody, and some days I don't work. Sometimes I'll just sit up there for a while and it'll appear. But that's okay. Ronnie said it was. So, but if I don't feel good, I'm just here.
Right.
You know, it just doesn't feel right when she's not here.
I understand.
When she goes to Florida in the winter, I don't like it. It just didn't feel good.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody miss.
Well,
Everybody miss.
10 years ago, our son-in-law, we had one daughter, Shayna, and her husband worked with us for 2 or 3 years. They fell in love with the food industry, and he opened a second location across town. And that's his story. This is our story. We always say we've got 2 locations, but only one man. So that's where we went. And that was her grandmother's name. And it's funny because mother was worked for Sears Roebuck in their Austin department for many years under on H&R Block. It's always been a professional. But when she retired and came to Danville, she just turned into Mammy. Her grandmother.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Even the customers call me Mammy. It's so funny because my granddaughter from New York came and we went out to dinner, and about 10 people stopped and said, "Hey, Mammy, hey, Mammy." And she said, "Mammy, you must be famous." I said, "Oh, yeah, I am." I'm Belton's Deli every day, and I'm famous. But everybody calls me that, and many of the customers call me that. Now, I have one lovely gentleman that comes in, and he said, "Would you please tell me your name? I just feel strange calling you Mammy." I said, "That's all right." I told him my name.
Right. Ronnie, I want to start with you. And the question that we get sometimes, and that I have too, is, you know, there's folks that come into our businesses and things, and they're near and dear to our heart. They're special, you know, or they have a certain place, you know. Share one of those stories with us of someone here and may not want to mention your name or whatever, but, you know, you share that with us.
Well, I was just thinking that a lot of different businesses, customers, people, they don't want to go in them. I had some friends that owned automotive business, and it seemed like so many customers were down because they had to get new tires, or they had to get new brakes, or the engine wasn't running right, that kind of thing. So they're in a bad mood, and it seemed like no matter how nice the service people were and everything, you couldn't get them out of that mood. So I thought, you know, when people come in here, I don't want it to be like that. I wanted to welcome them here. I wanted to come in here thinking they kind of leave all that outside the door, you know. And so we try to smile, and we say, "Hello, how are you?" and welcome to Melton's Deli and that kind of thing, especially new-time customers or first-time customers. We got an idea a few years ago to give a free cookie to any new customer. And that became such a small gesture, but people seem to appreciate it so much, and it just meant so much to them. Just that little free thing, you know, that that need to give them that, and it meant something to them. And it was sort of like when you come through these doors, you leave all that outside. And here, it's good. Your sandwich is going to be good, and you're going to enjoy it. It's going to make you feel better. We're all usually laughing and talking, and joking, and making jokes. And we just have a good time, a lot of laughter, and good things, good positive kind of things. So, it's hard enough out there. When they go back out the door, they have to meet that. But while they're in here, they can get that good feeling, and get something good to eat too. So I guess it's more of a group thing more than I do an individual kind of thing. As far as we try to make everybody feel welcome and just uplift them while they're here, at least. Those kinds. But
Gina, is there a particular individual that just sticks out in your mind more so than others?
Well, there's actually a couple of gentlemen that I want to mention that actually meant a lot to Ronnie and I, younger in our career.
Okay.
And that's Stuart Powell
Okay.
and Joe Martin.
Okay.
Those were legends in our community. These gentlemen, unfortunately, have passed in the last few years.
Yes.
But when we were 26 years old and first in business, these were 45 and 50-year-old men that made a point to come into our business and shake Ronnie's hand and talk to him and encourage him and tell him that he could do it. And it was it meant the world to him, which they uplifted him.
Yeah,
right.
And that meant a lot to me, of course.
Right.
But he gave us the courage, and it's like they believed in us, because they were such legends, and everyone in town just looked up to them, and they were such strong businessmen and did such wonderful community things. So those two men, I think, deserve some recognition and like I say, you don't know what you're doing for someone when you just come in with those few words of kindness. But I guess with my father being a minister and our whole lives being in the ministry, not that I'm a perfect example of what he would have probably wanted you to think. I feel like if you don't treat your business as a ministry, and I don't care what kind of business you're in, if you don't treat it as a ministry, you'll never find true success in your heart.
Right.
And so, when people come in, I get to be, it's like having everybody come over to your house for dinner, but I don't have to clean the house, and I don't have to, I don't have to make sure everything's perfect in my own home. But I get to play hostess here, and I get to feed people, and we really appreciate our military. The first time anybody walks in here in uniform, we buy their meal. We love to comp our police officers. We don't get a chance to because generally when there's very many people in line, somebody behind's doing this, I want to pay for his meal, pointing at the police officers. Right. So it's great to get to do those things in your community. Yeah. And then when people are suffering and having problems, you may not tell them I'm praying for you, but you are praying. Yeah. And I think they feel a sense of family and love here. We love each other. We really do, and we like working together. And now he did shoot me when I was 4 with his BB gun, but I've forgiven him for that, and we got past that. So, other than that, our family's done pretty well.
I have too been on the receiving end of a BB gun.
You understand why I haven't forgotten?
Yes, it is a very lasting impression, to say the least.
And a scar.
Yeah. No, that's too funny. No, I enjoy the fact that you guys, like you had mentioned, that your business kind of is a ministry because, regardless of what line of work you're in as a business owner, and when you are providing that service to people, you are a member of the public, and have a place like you had mentioned, Ronnie, where when they come in here, they're relaxed, they're worried about their sandwich.
Yeah.
They're not worried about whether the shingles got on the house right, or if the ditch got dug right, or if the paperwork's done, or if that sale is going to go through, or, and things like that. So to have somewhere where you can come in, just kind of decompress for a moment and just catch your breath and just realize, hey, it's not that bad. We're gonna get through it, and then whenever you walk out the door, hit it with just a brand new revived energy, and so. Anytime you can provide that for anyone, I think you're doing a great job. Yeah.
We try.
There's 5 siblings as much, and 3 of them are in their 70s, and 2 of them are in their 60s. And I just think it's amazing how well they've done. Mm-hmm. It's a testament to Mandy and Daddy.
Yes.
And Miss Nash. And, they did a great job as being parents, I think, and these five have excelled. And I think that's kind of unusual that all five of them would be so
It is.
successful and happy as they probably
It is. You know, and I come from a large family also. And there was a counting the step siblings and half brothers and this and that. There were about 11 or 12 of us total, you know, and some have passed on, you know, and things. But it is unusual to have a family, the one that gets along so well and is able to work.
Yeah.
That you had mentioned one of your daughters coming up from Florida to help you guys out and things during the base and all, and to help all of them to be that supportive and to be that close knit is truly a blessing.
Oh,
It really is.
We vacation together.
Yeah. So, tell me about someone interesting that you met here at the diner or in Danville.
You know, a lot of times we just have a short visit, pick up, for our time we get to sit down with customers.
Right.
And a lot of times they're hurt. And you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to take chances to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are hurting. I'm fortunate here. My sister I'm an artist, and she lets me just let my work. And my business is called Dangerous Imperfections.
Mm-hmm.
And I always use that in my schools for character studies because my whole emphasis is nothing's perfect.
That's right.
But with the right tools, the right vision, you can take something that's very flawed, very scarred, and make something of a bang. And people are the same way. No matter how scarred, how damaged you might be, with the right tools, the right emphasis, and with the right care, something beautiful can come from it.
Absolutely.
And something with much character can come out of it. And a lot of times, Rita says, I know you're hurting. What happened to you was bad. But take that and make something good come from it. And we have those opportunities. It's not long sometimes. Sometimes it's just a word you can say. But there is dignity and value can come from some of the scars.
Absolutely.
And there's hurts that you have.
Absolutely. You know, Jim, I was looking at some of your artwork before we got started today. I was sitting over here. And that was the first thing that I noticed is, you know, sometimes people strive so hard to make things look perfect. They have to be just so, and then people will appreciate it. You know, the mindset and people's thinking that way. And with me, that was the first thing I noticed. And you know, some of the pieces still have the wormholes in them. You know, and some of them still have nicks in the sides and this and that. You know, but it's all that uniqueness, and to me, it reminds us of us as individuals, you know, because even though we do have our own imperfections and things like that, we're still able to create something beautiful and useful out of all those imperfections and something that other people can appreciate and enjoy, you know, and stuff. So I think you do a phenomenal job with it. So,
And sometimes just a smile and a pleasant word to them up there can make a change in somebody's day.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Maybe tell me about one of your favorite people that come in to see you guys.
Yeah, there's been so many. It's hard to pick a favorite. It really is. But we don't realize many times how people are hurting. I feel like God gave me a discerning spirit many times because I can almost look at their face and tell if there's something wrong. And one lady in particular, I don't even know her name, and she put it on Facebook that I helped her get tremendously. Her husband had died, and she came through. She was picking up food to feed her family, and she said, "I said, honey, you're really carrying out a lot of food here today." So he said, "That's extra." And I said, "There's something back home," and she said, "My husband just died." And I remember her saying, I don't even know what I said to her, except what I usually say is, don't let these little ladies tell you it works just as bad today as it did 40 years ago, because God can take care of that. You will not hurt that bad. You'll never get ladies will say, "Oh, it has hurt so bad." it hurts just as bad today as it did 40 years ago. And God can take care of that because you don't hurt as bad. You never get over it. But that ache and pain, because if you hurt that bad, you couldn't live the first few days. And I remember her writing something to that effect, and how much I helped her. But she went home and wrote it down so that she could tell someone else. And I think I never had any idea that I affected that way. We don't know how we're helping people or how we're doing, but we have so many. And I think of a little lady that lived in the neighborhood and how sick she was emotionally, and how that just a few days before she died, she was hungry and she was trembling, and she came in, and how that Jenna took a sandwich to her and set her down over there and made her rest because she set her things down outside because she couldn't even carry them. And we fed her and gave her a Coke to get her on her feet, and she got on back home. And just about 4 days later, she died. And I think, we never know how we're helping anybody. You just don't realize. We had no idea she was going to die. We just knew that she was hurting. That is so important to help people when they need help. And you don't even realize it many times. We don't know. And people will say, oh, y'all were so nice to me. Somebody was so nice. Well, we're all that way. We're just that way. That's the way we do it. It's not just us. Even the girls at work are the same way.
So, in Danville, Kentucky, there's a little place. It's called Melton's Deli. And if you're lucky enough to be able to come and order a sandwich, Ronnie or Gina may perhaps fix that for you, but Mammy will probably make you pay for it. So, any chance that you have to be here, come and sit down with these guys and talk with them. Share some of your stories with them. I'm sure they'd love to hear them as much as we'd love to hear y'all's stories. So, Mammy, this is where you spend the majority of your time here at Melton's Deli.
Right.
Behind this refuge. That's where all the magic happens.
This keeps it going.
I got you. Well, you must be very well trusted if they put you in charge of funds.
Well, they probably watch me, but no, they do. But it's not only me, but everybody here. Everybody here enters a register, and because we trust them that much. But yes, and I'm so thankful to be here, blessed to be able to work with my children, and the community is wonderful, and we want them to continue coming because we enjoy them being here.
Ronnie, I noticed when we come in, you have this guitar on the wall. Tell me your story behind it.
Well, this was bought when I was just about 13 years old, and it was my first really nice guitar that I had. And I played it for many years with my family as a gospel quartet, and I was going to try to see if I could get it fixed by Brandon at his place, and it was just had a little bit too much damage to get back into.
So what year is the guitar?
I'm going to say it's probably a 73, 72, somewhere in the early 70s.
Okay.
And it was a very nice guitar. So I always loved it. It got a couple of cracks in the back that just couldn't be fixed. But Brandon came up with the idea to hang it and let people see it, and it's been a great addition to the deli.
It's a good conversation.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
A lot of people want to talk about it and ask about it, and I'm glad to do it because I've played since I was a child, basically,
right.
and even took my grandson in for some lessons with Brandon, and he's getting started. So
good.
So
good.
That's going good.
So Ronnie, share with me a moment. You said you were in a gospel group.
Mm-hmm.
How many years did you do that?
We did that about probably 10 years with my uncle and my mom and dad. And we actually had another guitar player when I was really young. And then when I got to where I could play, he got a little bit older and didn't want to do it as much. I started playing and singing with the group. And we did that for a few more years until we got married and moved up here to Danville.
And what was the name of the group?
Melton's Quartet.
Melton's Quartet.
Yeah, Melton's Quartet.
Very
Yes,
good.
and we went to a lot of areas. And
Well, I was going to ask, was it mainly in Kentucky?
mainly in Kentucky,
Okay.
Central Kentucky, down around Glasgow. We went that area a lot. But then we went to Indiana and Ohio and Tennessee and sang some. So
One of my favorite gospel groups when I was a kid. My dad enjoyed very well was Chuck Wagon Gang.
Oh, yes.
And did you ever have an opportunity to meet those folks?
We didn't meet them, but my dad loved their style of music, and so we sang a lot of their songs.
Yeah.
There was an after time kind of in their choruses a lot of times, and he just loved that, and we would practice and learn those and sing them because they were good gospel quartet songs.
They were.
So that was great. Yes, we used them a lot. Yes.
Yeah, I remember hearing them a lot.
Oh yeah, we know a lot of those old songs. I still
Yeah.
know them. Play them. Yeah. Yeah.
And do you currently still play now and perform?
Yeah, we still play. I don't perform. I just play for fun. And when my grandson comes over, we'll play together. And we got him a guitar, and so he's playing and doing well. Of course, he has sports and things too now.
Oh yeah.
But I figured that it was good to get him started. Brandon said he was doing really well, so I think he'll probably pick it back up.
Well, it's good to see the torch passed on.
Oh yeah, I love it. I think it's great. It's been so much fun. Got me back into it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I collect knives personally.
Yeah.
And as we had talked earlier, I have a large family. And so anytime one of the youngins would turn 13, then I would give them a pocket knife,
Yeah.
And so, and had started to develop a liking for that with some of the younger generations because
Yeah.
And so
That's great.
anytime we get past that torch and then mount on to that, it keeps it alive for the future.
Yes. Yes.
So
And if we don't do it,
it's not going to be
it's
done.
not going to get
It's
done.
not going to get done,
That's
Ronnie.
right.
That's a fact.
I was so I enjoyed so much helping him and Brandon helping him too. But it was so I just loved it. Like I said, it got me back into it. I got my fingers back into it. So.
I'll tell you, from my personal experience, music has brought me in touch with so many phenomenal people, just as people,
Mm-hmm.
And then you add in their talent and their abilities with their instrument, and some of them are songwriters, and I have friends that have toured in Europe, and some that are still up and coming. That people, just who's that guy?
Yeah.
But they're still just great artists and things. So anytime that you can pass it on, it opens so many more doors that people realize other than, oh, well, you play guitar or you do, things. So it really, it's a community. So Jeff, these are some of the of your woodworking products that you made, bowls and things. Tell us a little bit about these.
Well, I've been wood turning for about 20 years now, and I just make various items, and I usually use wood that's been thrown away or given away. I've actually taken things off of burn piles just to use and try to create something unique out of them. I like to work with things that have knots, burrs, holes in them to incorporate that in, to show that even things that are flawed have value. And so I create those. I love working with wood that's spalted, cracks, holes, and it's just a project I've done for years. And I've gone to a couple of guilds, and I do sell things, but mainly it's just an act of passion for me. So
Now, do you do custom work if someone wanted a piece made?
I do.
that
I have a lot of people bring, this tree fell on my grandfather's property. Can I have something made from it? And I do that all the time. I do the live edge tables and different things like that. So,
How long have you been doing this?
I've been working, I made my first woodworking project in my 7th grade shop class. But I've been working with wood since my early 20s.
So I kind of got the spark going to build the fire.
Right.
Very good.
We want to thank everybody in Danville, Bull County, and all the surrounding parts of central Kentucky that come to visit us and enjoy lunch with us. We hope you continue to come. It's been 26 wonderful years. We can't be happier with what we're doing, and that's a real gift to be able to say that. So we're going to hang in here as long as we can. We hope you guys keep coming to see us and visit us, and come see us soon.
Just want to say thank you. Thank you to everybody.
In a place like Melton's, food's just the beginning. It's the people you meet, the memories you make, and the sense of belonging you can't buy anywhere else.
This concludes our Season 1, Episode 1 of Hollow in the Hill, Kentucky Story. And we want to thank Melton's Deli for opening the doors for us and their hearts to allow us to come in and have these conversations today. to share the stories about their family and their adventure and what's brought them to Danville and what keeps them here and the just the community of ours that they truly love. So stay tuned for episode 2. It'll be out soon, and thank you very much.